Hello everybody, my name is Rose Thorne, and today I am doing a video, a writer-to-writer perspective about Jim Morrison, the Lizard King, the lead singer of The Doors. I've already posted a few videos talking about his poetry books, and the video that I'm making for you right now, it's something that I've wanted to make for a long time. I just didn't know how to put the video together correctly, to say the things that I wanted to say in the way that I wanted to say them. But I figured it out, and so I'm making a video. So, everybody who's out there, I'm pretty sure that you've heard of the rock group The Doors, and you've certainly heard of Jim Morrison. You can't talk about The Doors without talking about Jim Morrison. A lot of people know Jim Morrison as a singer, as a performer, as a guy who did crazy stuff on stage. But a lot of people do not know and don't realize that Jim Morrison, before he became the singer of The Doors and a performer, before any of that, he was first a writer and a poet. He was a quiet, shy young man who always had his nose in a book. He was highly educated, very intelligent, well-read, well-spoken. And if you look at his career, from a writer point of view, from a performer point of view, if you look at it through that lens, you'll notice different things happening. And you'll see them in a way that most won't be able to. So as a writer, I wanted to give my perspective of Jim and his career and why certain things in his career happened. So, as I mentioned, before Jim got into The Doors, he was a very shy young man. He was a writer. He was a poet. He wrote poetry all the time. Then he had a chance meeting with Ray Manzarek. They started talking, formed a friendship. The Doors happened, and he went from being a shy young man who was a poet and a writer, which that's the core of who he is and was. He went from that to being a performer and a singer. And I feel that for a while that was fun for him, getting up on stage and being able to act as crazy as he wanted to be able to put his poetry to music and know that people can hear it, know that people are listening and they really like it. I think the writer in him really enjoyed that, being able to share his poetry in a forum where lots of people could hear and lots of people could appreciate. Plus, you add the fame in with that and the success and the money. I think for a while that the young man in him really enjoyed all those things mixed together. But I also think after a while that the fame and the money and the success, it turned on him. It went from being a friend into an enemy. Jim was a highly intelligent young man, but one thing he did not want to be was a sex symbol. Jim did not want to be a sex symbol. The image that he presented on stage was a close image to Dionysus, and anybody that knows anything about Jim Morrison knows that he was very much into Dionysus, and so he created this image of Dionysus and presented it to the audience, and the audience really dug it. But that image that he created for himself and the fact that he was a very attractive person, it became a trap that he just could not get away from. His face, his body were all over the teen magazines and everybody wanting to be around him and everybody wanting to have sex with him. I think that the writer in him, the poet in him, really got annoyed with that and really got frustrated, because during his time with The Doors, Jim put out not just one but 2 books of poetry, and sadly enough, nobody cared. Nobody gave him any kind of acclaim or praise for his prose. As a matter of fact, a lot of people just brushed it off and said ugly things about it. So I think that the writer in him, the poet in him, was deeply frustrated and deeply angry that that part of him, that essential part of him, that core part of him, was being shoved off to the side because all that people wanted to know about him was the fact that he was a good-looking guy and he got up on stage and did crazy things. It's all people wanted to know about Jim Morrison. Nobody cared about how intelligent he was or the fact that he had something to say and he was writing great poetry. They just wanted the image of Jim Morrison. They just wanted the fantasy of him, and it made Jim angry, and it made him lash out in a variety of different ways, which led to him getting in trouble and the trial, but that's for a later discussion. One thing I did notice, Jim transitioned over from being a young man where his hair was cut and wearing the leathers to having a completely different image. He gained a bunch of weight, he grew a beard. From the writer perspective, to me, that just seemed blatantly like he was tired of being the heartthrob. He was tired of being the sex symbol. He was tired of everyone putting him in a box of just being some sexy lead singer. The writer in him had had enough and wanted out. It wanted an escape from the image and the box that he had put himself in. The writer in him wanted the box to be bigger, to include his talent, his true inner talent. And so to get people to leave him alone and to get the writer to come out, he erased the image and he created a different image. He grew a beard, he gained a bunch of weight that nobody would think of him as being sexy. And he kept that image for a very long time. I think the whole him gaining weight and growing the beard was completely on purpose. That was him saying, I'm divorcing myself away from the sexy image. I just want to be a writer. Anybody else is not down with that, leave me alone. Then, of course, everybody knows that after that happened, he went to Paris, and unfortunately, his time in Paris wasn't long because he died in the bathtub. And as a writer, I think that's a really sad ending to a young, talented life. And it's very sad that Jim is most known for his crazy antics and being the singer of the Doors, but very few remember him as being a poet and a writer, because that's really who Jim was. That was the essence of who he was. Also, from the writer perspective, and I'm just going to say this outright, I'm not a super fan of the Doors, I'm not a super fan of Jim Morrison, but as a fellow writer and poet, I have seen so many people writing books about Jim Morrison, about how they knew him and his life, and every time I see a new book or something come out, it just totally disgusts me, because Jim has been dead for about 50 years. And from my opinion only, I think the only people that should be allowed to write books and publish them about Jim would be his immediate family. They could write about his childhood and his band members. And if Pamela Corison Morrison were still alive, she could write a book because she was honestly involved with him. And everybody else can just go screw off. There's so many people that have written books about Jim, saying how much they knew him and how much they cared about him, and it's such a obvious money grab. And it's so sad when you think about a man like Jim Morrison. He didn't get to live to old age. He's been dead for a long time, and there's still people out there trying to wring the last few drops of juice out of his dead corpse, where he should be left alone. You know, I'm a writer, and when I see the exploitation of him as a person, as a writer, his talent, his artistry, his energy, it makes me sad and it makes me angry, because there are just far too many people that anybody who walked into a restaurant and happened to walk into the restroom and there's Jim Morrison taking a piss, and they happen to take a piss right next to him, they feel that they have the right to write a book about him and make money. it's just sad that so many people crawling out of the woodwork to make money off of Jim Morrison, and he's been dead for a long time. And I think anybody out there who knew Jim Morrison, really knew him, really cared about him, if they really cared and if they really respected Jim, they would keep those memories to themselves and not tell anybody and not try to make money on it, not exploit the memories, not exploit the time spent. That's just how I feel. So those are my feelings and my opinions about Jim and his life and after his life is over. Hope you guys understand. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Feel free to leave a comment. Take care.